What up? What up? Come on now. It's a good day. It's a good day. Today is a day that the Lord has made. I will be glad and rejoice in it. Somebody make a noise. Yo, I love my church. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Listen, if you got a Bible, go ahead. We're going to be all over the place. You could turn to Proverbs. We're going to be in Proverbs, both Proverbs and Song of Songs, and John chapter 15. We're going to be all over the place. So if you have the ability to be quick on your feet and bounce around with me, that's awesome. If you don't, it's okay. Everything will be on the screen today, or most things will be on the screen today. And so we have been looking at this summer. We call it like a summer with Solomon. So we are looking at Solomon, who's the wisest person that ever walked the planet outside of Jesus himself, and we are gleaning from it just some wisdom, right? How many of y'all believe that the Bible is full of wisdom, right? The Bible is full of wisdom. So the Bible isn't just full of, it is a story that is pointing us to Christ, who is God in the flesh, who lived the life that we couldn't, died in our place for our sin, and that all of Scripture points to Jesus. Yes, that is true, but man, I'm just grateful that the Bible is also helpful. The Bible is helpful. Right? The Bible helps me walk in godliness. The Bible helps me to be happy. How many of you know that the word blessed literally just means happy? The word blessed means happy, right? So it says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Man, you can be happy. The Bible wants us to be happy, right? It wants us to have a joy. And so we're looking at this idea this thought of like walking in wisdom. And so that's what we've been doing for the last few weeks. And we're going to continue doing that today. And today, the topic of concern is friendship. We're talking about friendship today. So Song of Solomon is probably one of the most scandalous books in all the Bible. It's a story of a young man and a young woman who have come to court each other, get to know one another. Eventually, it's a very passionate book. It talks very, very openly about their intimacy with one another. But in Song of Solomon, chapter 5, Solomon's wife makes this statement about him, and he says this, starting in verse 14. He says, his arms are rods of gold. I mean, this is a good day, right? Fellas, I don't know about you, but when your girl starts saying, like, yo, you got some rods of gold, you know what I'm saying? Look at that arm, right? Every dude here is like, yes, look at the arm, right? Anybody know, right? How many of you ever have somebody touch your arm and you accidentally just flex? Or is that just me? Just me. Okay. It says, his arms are rods of gold set with jewels. His body is polished ivory, bedecked with sapphires. His legs are alabaster columns. I mean, she's just going off. Sets on columns of gold, sets on base of gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as the cedars. His mouth is most sweet. She's just breaking this dude down. His mouth is most sweet, and he is altogether desirable. And then she says this, and this is what I want to focus on. This is my beloved, and this is my friend. This is my beloved, and this is my friend. And here's the thing about friendship. Friendship is multifaceted, right? Just because you're married to somebody doesn't mean you're friends, right? Just because you work with somebody doesn't mean you're friends. Just because you're classmates with somebody doesn't mean they're friends. Just because you're a sibling of somebody doesn't mean you're friends. Like, friendship is actually different. Friendship is something that's built. Friendship is oftentimes intentional, like it's a choice, right? Like, but friendship is multifaceted. There are sometimes I work with people and I have to manage the different hats. Sometimes I'm your friend, sometimes I'm your boss, sometimes I'm your pastor, sometimes I'm the one who has to correct you, sometimes I'm your parent, right? So not with people I work with, although Daniel might intern with us shortly. And so but there's different hats that you have to wear. And so what Solomon is pointing to is that in relationships, right? Relationships can be multifaceted, and friendship should be a part of the relationship. Like, you should be friends with your spouse. You should be friends with your kids. Kids, you should be friends with your parents. Or you should be friends with your coworkers. You should have friends in your church. And so what we're going to look at today is this idea of friendship. So, to kind of jump into it, like not too long ago, and whoever's up there, you might want to put my timer on, or I will go all day, and that is not going to be good. So a few weeks ago, my son wanted to go downstairs in our basement and play video games. Anybody have kids that want to play videos? Anybody a kid who wants to go downstairs and play video games? All right. And so my son wanted to go downstairs and play some video games, but it was late at night. It was about 11 o'clock. And so as an unthoughtful, inconsiderate, cruel father that I am, I declined his suggestion. And so, which led to, right, some highly emotional conversation, I would call robust dialogue between the two of us. And in an attempt, right, so my oldest is Daniel. He's in the room right now somewhere. And he's an awesome kid. He's godly. I love what God's doing in his life. I love watching them grow. It's awesome. And we have these moments where robust dialogue is good. But there's sometimes things happen, and I realize how we see the world so different. So he, in his attempt to manipulate me into giving him what he wanted to have, he leads me into this great idea by saying, Dad, I wanted to go down and play Fortnite so that I could hang out with my friends. To which I was thinking in my mind, it's 11 o'clock at night, we have nobody here. How are you going to go hang out with your friends? And it messed me up. Here's why it messed me up. In his mind, I could tell when he's just toying with me, and I could tell when he's genuine. He genuinely was saying, Dad, I'm just trying to hang with my friends. He really believed that playing Fortnite alone, with no one else down there, with a headset on, was synonymous with hanging out with friends and building relationships. Now, listen, praise God. That's awesome. But it just hit me in that moment how friendship has changed so much from when I was young. Right? Friendship is so different from when I was a kid. Like spending time together looks different. Playing together looks different. How many of y'all had to go outside? It's like, I need to play with my friends. And it was like, that meant you had to go outside. Now he's like, I need to go play with my friends. That means alone in the basement with a headset on. It's just different. Communicating with my friends back then looked different. I mean, 15 years ago, the mere thought of me having to use my thumbs to spell out every sentence that I wanted to get out of my mouth to communicate with somebody would have been the scariest thing of my life. Think about, like, forget the spelling dynamic. Yes, I can't spell for the life of me, so that would have been hard. But just the mere inefficiency of having to type out HIHOWAREYOU question mark emoji face send. Like, imagine if I preached my sermon in letters. FRINDSHIPSARESODIFR. Like, imagine. It's just so different. It's so different. This would have been a nightmare when I was 15. Now, we live in a day and age where we are far more connected than we've ever been. Right? If you take an inventory of the average person and their connectivity, you start kind of putting together their Facebook friends, their Instagram followers, their inbox, their contact list, the calendar. Like, we are connected to hundreds, if not thousands of people day in, day out. Now, with that being said, what is so interesting to me is that statistics lead us to know that we have more connectivity than ever before, but yet at the same time, we feel more lonely, more depressed, more isolated than ever before. 25 years ago, the average American had close to 6 friends that they considered close friends. Today, it's down to 2. Statistically, the annual stress report from the American Psychological Association found that millennials, for ages 18 to 35, were the most stressed of any generation in America. Millennials have a stress rate of 5.5 out of their scale of 10, and stats show that they lead the country in feeling lonely and isolated at 34%. 34% of all millennials have these bouts that are very genuine, very real, where they're like, I have no friends. I'm just completely lonely. And it blew my mind to read these stats because I just know how connected everybody is, right? So I read an article this week that talked about how online connectivity is negatively affecting human relationships, and it just kind of built out for me, oh, okay, this all makes sense. These are 5 ways social media or online connectivity is negatively affecting human relationships. And I read this and I was like, yep. This isn't in your Bible, but it might be one day. Just kidding, that made no sense. Keep going. The first one was this. Social media negatively affecting human relationships. It creates a false sense of intimacy. It creates a false sense of intimacy. Social media makes us feel like we know people better than we do. Isn't this true? Me feel like I know what's going on. And this happens, right? People are like, hey, Matt, how was your vacation? I'm like, how did you know I was on vacation? I follow you. You follow me? You know what I'm saying? That's scary stuff. You need to always put online at the end of I follow you. You got to stop that. I follow you. Online? No. Woo! Right, so last week it was really cool. We had a guy who was visiting from Lithuania. He's originally from Moldova, and he found us online. He found Netcast online, started watching our YouTube channel, and through our YouTube channel, God saves him, right? He hears the gospel, gets saved. He comes out here with his girlfriend, and we baptized him in Pastor Dan Bird's pool last week, and it was phenomenal. It was so fun. Had a good bite to eat, good time together. It was really, really neat. But he said a very interesting thing to me that hit me when he said, I actually thought I knew you before I met you. And I was like, okay. And he said, but it's so cool because now I feel like having met you, we're friends. And I was like, that's so true. Proximity matters. Second thing he talked about is this. This is how social media is negatively affecting human relationships. It fosters illusions of community. It fosters illusions of community. Social media misleads us to believe that we have a large built-in support system. Like we believe that if stuff hits the fan that, all my followers or all my Facebook friends are going to be there for me. And we associate that. And then we realize when stuff does go bad and the best that we're getting is a thumbs up or a cry emoji, right? We're like, I'm kind of lonely. Third thing it talks about was this. It keeps us from being fully known. I thought this was interesting. It talked about how social media puts up virtual walls. We do this in person. We do it even more so, though, behind a computer or behind a phone. Right? Social media puts up virtual walls. Most of us, we don't air out all of our dirty laundry online, right? What we do is we take snapshots of our greatest moments, right? My marriage is a wreck, but smile, post, love him. Isn't this awesome? And you're like, they're just so great. Life is so great. And you have this perception of you're being fully known, but you're not fully known. You're partially known. And it keeps you from being fully known. Not to mention the fact that we have filters on everything. I always think that that's hilarious. Like we literally filter even our best moments. It's so funny. Fourth thing, it sets unrealistic expectations, right? We walk around the world and we see life as it is, but then we get online and social media tempts us to try to live this idealistic life in an idealistic world that doesn't actually exist. And so what happens is we see how other people are spending their time, their energy, their money, how happy they are, and then we struggle with what we call FOMO. I didn't get invited. How come they get to have that and I don't get to have that? Who has ever felt it? Please don't lie to me or I'll call you by name because I've had conversations with you. Right? And so this happens. Fifth thing is this, it makes us good at storytelling, but not good at story living. I thought this was interesting. It says social media memorializes moments with friends while true friendship passes us by. That we're more interested in capturing friendship moments than we are living in deep friendship. We get more excited about sharing friendship moments on social media than the actual friendship moment itself, right? And so we know this is true, right? You ever been to a concert or something and everybody's got their phone out filming it? It's like, bro, just sing. Like, enjoy it. Like, have a good time. Like, you don't have to capture this for all your social media people. Like, enjoy the moment that you're in. Don't just share the moment that you forgot to enjoy. Now, this idea of friendships, this theme today is a crucial one, and it's spoken of so often by Solomon himself. Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs, Proverbs, littered with these thoughts on friendship. And over again, Solomon reminds us of this truth. There's a big idea for you to remember. He reminds us of this truth, that you and I will not make it in life unless you are really good at choosing, forging, and keeping terrific friendships. I'll repeat that. Solomon reminds us over and over again through Ecclesiastes, Song of Psalms, like Proverbs, all over the place, that you and I will not make it in life unless we are really good at choosing, forging, and keeping terrific friendships. So to help us build a theology of friendship, to help us have a biblical framework of friendship, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an acronym for friend. We got kids in the room. Hopefully this will help you jot some things down from time to time. It's Family Sunday, right? Just try to make it as simple as possible. I'm going to use an acronym for friend to help us establish a true biblical understanding of what friendship actually is and how to forge good friendships. I'm going to give you these 6 letters now, right? Fruitful, reciprocal, intentional, emotional, nurturing, discipleship. Friends. Get that outside your head. Anybody? No? Just me? Okay. Friends, F-R-I-E-N-D, F-R-I-E-N-D. Fruitful, reciprocal, intentional, emotional, nurturing discipleship. First is fruitful. John chapter 15, starting verse 8, and then we'll jump to verse 12. He says this, by this my Father is glorified. This is Jesus speaking. That you, this is you and me, that you bear much fruit. And so prove to be my disciples. That God's call on you, the way that we glorify the Father, is that we bear much fruit. Friendships must be fruitful. Fruitfulness is seen in friendships. And then he jumps in verse 12. He says, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this. Then someone laid down his life for his friends. And then Jesus says this, you are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. The beauty of the gospel, the beauty of what God creates in Jesus or gives to us in Jesus, the beauty of this is that he's not just Lord, he's not just Savior, although he is both of those things, but he also is your friend. He is there in that ever troubled time of need. He never leaves you nor forsakes you. He is the glue to you knowing the Father. And in the same way, he is the glue to building healthy friendships here. So most friendships, if we're honest, most friendships tend to have a glue that holds everybody together, right? So if you have a slew of friends, there's usually a person in that slew of friends that is kind of a glue. They're the person that is, an initiator. They're making plans happen. They're the one leading the text group, the text thread and making sure everybody stays connected. They're the one that are holding the plans. They're the one who's maybe house that we find ourselves at most of the time. They play mediator at times when things go awry. Oftentimes we have in our friend groups kind of the glue. Maybe it's a person. Hopefully it's a person. It's a glue that is kind of holding everybody together. And within a Christian framework or understanding of friendship, Jesus is the glue. Jesus is the initiator. Jesus is the one who has the plan. Jesus is the one who gathers us, right? We're here together. What makes us united is Jesus. Jesus is the mediator when things go wrong. He's the one in which everything else flows from. Some of us, I look around the room and I'm like, outside of Jesus, we're not friends. Some of you look at me and you're like, outside of Jesus, we ain't friends. We got no other commonalities. We ain't hanging. But because of Jesus, Jesus is our glue. And Christian friendships that are centered on Jesus, right, where the gospel is the thing that holds us together, right, this is what builds genuine, deep, fruitful relationships with one another. And friendships that are built on other things don't last. If I'm honest, if friendships that are built on a commonality at work doesn't really last. Commonality of a sport doesn't really last. Teammates doesn't really last. But when Jesus is the glue, it has the potential to last. So another thing that we see in this text is in verse 13, it says, it talks about how fruitful friendships are built on sacrificial love. He says this, greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. You know somebody is your friend when they're willing to take one for you, right? Isn't this true? To be a good friend means that I'm going to take one for you. You're going to take one for me, I'm going to take one for you. Sacrificial love is at the root of friendship. So I was talking to my kids this week. I was like, hey, talk to me about this. How do you know that you got friends? Like, how do you know? Give me some stories about when you knew that somebody was your friend or when it hit you that you were somebody's friend. And my Abby was like this, I got a story. I was like, all right, hit me, girl, hit me. What you got? She was like, well, one of my friends that was next to me in class, sitting next to me, and they leaned over and they were like, yo, my stomach is killing me and I have to pass something. She was like, air or solid? She was like, air. Okay. Why are you telling me? She's like, here's the deal. I'm super embarrassed about this. I need you to take the blame for me. So Abby is like a good friend. She's like, that's my girl. I got to take one for the team. So she's like, all right, you got to fart. All right, you got to fart. Okay, good. I got your back. All right. So, but before she even fully admits, okay, I'll take this for you, girl, lets it out. Burp, boom. Comes out. Woo! So they're like, this is potty talking church. I know. I'm sorry. This is her example, not mine. Right? So she rips one. Her friend rips one right there in class. Somebody behind her in class is like, ew, who ripped one? And then the friend who ripped one looked at Abby and was like, Abby, ew, that's you. and Abby was like, when you gotta go, you gotta go. She just took it on the chin. I was like, that's my girl. I was so proud of her. But a friend's going to take one for you. A friend's going to just go all in. It's like, I got you, okay? I got you. Yeah, that was me. That was me. Love it. Second thing is this. reciprocal. Reciprocal. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. Iron sharpens iron and one man sharpens another. Now in the church we've heard this as a coffee cup verse. It's probably on a pen somewhere or a bookmark in your house somewhere if you've been following Jesus for any amount of time. As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. It's a cute verse, right? And so we've heard, we talk like this. Well, praise God, when iron sharpens iron. Right? Don't we do this? We're like, yeah, we had a good day. Hey, iron sharpens iron. That's so good, right? We forget. We don't live in we don't live in a fabricating environment, right? Like we don't live in an environment where we see iron sharpening iron, right? Here's the thing about ironing sharpening iron. It is a violent, aggressive process. It is loud. Sparks are flying everywhere. Right? It is not like, iron is sharpening iron, buddy. Let's go get a coffee. That's not it. This is deep. This is sparks flying, aggressive. It's violent, right? This is real talk, right? And so sometimes, I would say this, if within relationships, if it's going to be reciprocal, then I need to rub you and you need to rub me, and we're going to rub each other the wrong way, and it's going to be hurtful. Sparks are going to fly sometimes. If you have no friction in your friendships, you probably don't have friends. If you have no friction in if everything's like, oh yeah, that's great, yeah, do it, oh yeah, that's great, oh do it, oh iron sharpens iron, you probably have no friends. A true friend looks at somebody and says, don't do that, that's dumb. And you're supposed to look at a true friend, no, we can't do that. Why? Because I care about your future, not just your temporary joy right now. I know that you think it's a good, no. I was reading Psalm 1 this week. Sent a text to a bunch of a few of my friends and reminded them to take an inventory of temptations in their life and figure out where they're most vulnerable and to make sure that they weed out those who facilitate those temptations. Take an inventory of your temptations. Where are you most tempted in your life? Take an inventory of that. And then weed out the people who facilitate those temptations in you. Some of us right now, we have some friendships and we're trying to inspire and push people in one way, but they're not pushing us in the same way. We need to take an inventory of those people, and it's okay to weed them out. It's okay. It's all right. Romans 1, chapter 11 through 12, this is Paul speaking. He says, for I long to see you. He's talking to the Roman church. I long to see you because proximity is important. He says that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to strengthen you. That is that we may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith, both yours and mine. This is reciprocal. This is mutual. We are mutually encouraging one another, right? This means that in true friendship, I challenge you, you challenge me. In true friendship, I initiate you, but you initiate me. In true friendship, I sharpen you, you sharpen me. In true friendship, I encourage you, but you encourage me. It is a two-way street. Literally sometimes. Dan Bird and I, we have a relationship where when he has to go to the airport, does not matter what time of day it is, I have to take him. But he has to take me. And it was my turn on Saturday, and I had to get up at 4 a.m., and I was not happy. I literally woke up saying, I curse this friend. It's 4 a.m.? No. But he is my friend, so I will do it. And he's got my back. He's taken me to the airport multiple times, right? But it's reciprocal. It's reciprocal. Third thing is this. It's intentional. It's intentional. Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. You're like, what does that have to do with intentionality? Let me explain you your Bible, okay? A friend loves at all times. Friend, all times. A brother born for adversity. A friend loves at all times. A brother born for adversity. This is what he's saying. He's saying a friend loves at all times, but a sibling has been given to you for moments of adversity. Let me explain this to you. So my brother, who is 4 years younger than me, I forget what year I was in high school, but I had gotten a phone call from him while I was at school. Now, this is odd because I went to school in days you did not have cell phones. If you were a drug dealer, you had a beeper, but that's about all you had. I may or may not have had a beeper. I don't want to get into it. Just kidding. But the phone would ring in the office or in the classroom, and then the teacher would pick it up, and in your mind you would be saying, "Please let it be for me, because maybe I'll get out of school early." Anybody remember these days when the phone actually rang in the school, right? And so the phone rang in the school, and so my teacher grabs the phone and says, "Matt Tuning, it's for you." And so I'm like, who gets a phone call in class? This is sick. So I go take it, go out the door. I always had it by the door in case you needed privacy, shut the door. And I'm out there and I'm like, hello. And I have no idea what's going on. And it's my little brother. How he pulled off getting me on the line at my school as a sixth grader makes no sense to me other than we're from Jersey. We know how to get stuff done, right? And so he gets me on the phone and he says to me, listen, I need you here at 3 o'clock. I need you to come, like, I'm going to get jumped in the back of the school. And I'm like, for real, dude? He's like, yo, for real, I need you to come. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, none. I was like, you didn't do nothing. What'd you do? So my brother is little, right? He's always been little. He's not that big, right? But here's the thing. I don't know if little man syndrome is real, but I do know that for this little man, right? He had a big mouth, little body, big mouth, little body, big mouth, little body, right? So he would use his big mouth and it would get him in trouble, but his little body couldn't back it, right? So he had a brother that was born for adversity. And so what happened was he was like, I need you to come here. So I grabbed my friend Jerry, and me and Jerry go down, and we go to the middle school, and we're there. And you know how it is in middle school, right? Like immediately you get there, there's a circle, and it's like, oh, fight, and there's my brother. I kid you not. My brother is right there, little man. He had to have been like 4'9", okay? And next to him in the circle has got to be a dude who is 6'6" in 8th grade. When I tell you, I could tell you his name. You can look him up. Derek Carricker was his name, okay? He played for the Lakers, right? I mean, just like a beast. My brother decided as a 6th grader that he was going to talk smack to an 8th grader who was 6'6". Now, I'm like a senior or something like that. No, what was I? Probably in 10th grade. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I was in 10th grade. So I come down with Jerry, and we go down there, and my brother is like, you can see he's real timid in the circle. I think I shared this story with you. He's real timid in the circle, right? And then he kind of glances and catches my eye, and me and Jerry coming through the woods, and we come out of the woods kind of into the open area, and all of a sudden, timid little Kyle decides to get big and tough. He's like, yeah, say something. Say something again. Go ahead, make a move, dog. What you gonna do? And so then this 8th grade, this poor 8th grade kid sees these two high school kids. He's like looking at the side of his eye. He sees us, and now he doesn't know what to do. He's like, I'm not gonna fight and get killed by an older person. And so it wound up nothing happening. So my brother pushed him a little bit, and I was like, all right, stop. Don't you ever mess with my brother again. He's like, all right, I won't. But a brother is born for adversity. Now here's the deal. Kyle didn't call his friends because he probably didn't have any that could step in that day. He called his brother who's born for adversity. Let me tell you something. Had I not been his brother, I would not have shown. Had I been his brother, I would not have shown. Had I not been his brother, I would not have shown. I'm not his friend. I mean, I ain't hanging out with him, but I'm his brother, and so I'm born for adversity. And friendship takes intentionality. Brotherhood just takes birth. Friendship takes intentionality. Brotherhood just is given to you by birth. And so he says a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. The difference between a friend and a sibling is that a friendship is intentional because it chooses the other individual. It initiates the other individual. It chooses loyalty, where a sibling is born into it. I mean, I'm not going to go home that day and be like, see my brother has 2 black eyes because this massive kid destroyed him, and look at my mom and say, well, yeah, I know he called, but I just wasn't in. I mean, you have to show when you're a brother. Friends are intentional. They show because they want to. 4th is emotional. Friendship is emotional. Proverbs 27:9 says this, oil and perfume make the heart glad. We're here talking now about gladness, which is an emotion, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel, where we're talking here emotionally on a vulnerable level. Romans 12:15 says, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. We're talking about joy, talking about sadness. These are emotions. Friendship is emotional. We don't just go over like the to-dos and the to-don'ts. We don't just talk about, should I make this decision or should I not? We talk in vulnerable ways about our emotions. That's when you know you've hit true friendship. True friendship is when you share your feelings. True friendship is when you're able to talk about hard feelings. Feelings like grief, feelings like sadness, feelings like anger. These are friends that don't judge you because you've demonstrated negative emotions. They're there to allow you to be yourself, where it's okay to be fully known, and in being fully known, you're fully loved. This is where you're unafraid of sharing the most vulnerable parts of who you are. This is where you're not afraid of sharing your most embarrassing moments. I was asking Beth about, some friends that she have, and she was like, I had a good friendship conversation. And her and some other friends that are actually in the room right now, we're talking about as adults when they accidentally crap themselves. That's friendship. That is friendship. where you're like, I gotta tell you a story. I totally let loose by accident, just came right out. I'm like, why are you telling people that? That's my friend. Okay. You're like, that's the second bathroom story he's told. I know. It's Family Sunday. Just liberate everybody here. True friendship is where feelings and counsel and Jesus are all involved. Here's how you know that you have an acquaintance when all you talk about is news and sports. That's how you know you have an acquaintance. It's not biblical friendship. You could recite the roster of the Celtics and the Patriots this year and how your excitement is joined by that, but you're not talking about emotions and you're not talking about vulnerability. Here's how you know that you don't have a friend. When you talk about the weather, this is so true. Somebody years ago was like, you know you have a friend when, you know you're not friends with somebody when you always talk about the weather. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I remember I was working in the city. We got in an elevator together and he looked at me and he was like, sure it's hot outside. I was like, we're not friends. Oh my gosh. Because I responded with, yeah, I heard it's gonna rain later today. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm defining the relationship, DTR, right now. It's happening, and neither one of us will acknowledge it, It's like, that's how you know you're not friends. That's elevator talk, right? If some of you come up to you and be like, oh man, how's your summer been? Man, it's been beautiful out. Oh, you're just a church person. We're not close, okay? Like, I just know. That's how you know. But when you go deep, when you start talking about emotions, vulnerability, friendship is real. Even right now, you're like, yo, we talked about the weather all the way over here. Uh-oh. I know. Fifth thing is this, nurturing. Ephesians chapter 4, or Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 12 says this, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. This is nurturing. Again, if two lie together, people always use this as a marital verse. It's not. And two lie together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? There was actually a day where you didn't have air conditioning and you didn't have heaters, right? And so you would actually get close to a friend to keep each other warm. Now, I still remember a moment that I had in high school where I was like, yo, I'm really close to this dude. Now, it was an uncomfortable moment for the two of us, okay? My best friend, I already mentioned him, Jerry, we pulled an all-nighter. We were like 15, and we pulled an all-nighter. Next day, it was around noon. We started watching Bad Boys. Anybody remember the movie Bad Boys? Classic. So we were watching Bad Boys together, and I start to doze off. I'm exhausted. He starts to doze off. We wake up. I got one arm under his head. Over his shoulder is the other one, and definitely one leg over his leg, and we were straight cuddling. And he woke up, and I woke up and I was like, hey, dap it up. Good movie. Good movie. Right? It was just, but we were close enough where accidentally, subconsciously, we nurtured each other. Now, when you hear the word nurturing, if you're not careful, you can only think of things like cuddling or baby feeding, breastfeeding, whatever. But nurturing means this, caring for and encouraging one another. Caring for and encouraging the growth of one another. And so Christian friendships exist to say things to keep each other believing. Christian friendships exist to say things to keep each other believing so that we might continue to grow. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine this week. We were talking about areas where we're vulnerable, areas where we struggle, areas where we desire approval, areas where we desire acceptance. The friendship hat was on, and we began to stir one another into believing, stir one another into growth. And so that's Christian friendship. Hebrews 3 tells us, reminds us, exhort one another, encourage one another every single day, as long as the day is called today, because you and I have the same thing, which is a heart that is evil enough to fall astray, right? We have a propensity to fall from things that we know are good for us, and so I need friends in my life that nurture my growth. Which brings me to the sixth point and last point, D, discipleship. We need to disciple one another. Let me explain what I mean. Proverbs 13:20 says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 22:24 through 25 says this, make no friendship with a man given to anger, nor go with a wrathful man, lest you learn his ways and entangle yourself in a snare. You show me your friends, and I will show you your future. You show me your friends, and I will show you your future. I'm not a prophet. I don't see the future. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. True Christian friendship is built when we are working together to fulfill the mission of God of making disciples. Jesus' command to us, go and make disciples, baptize men and women in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Teach them to obey all that I've commanded, and I'll be with you while you do it. This is the mission that God has given to us. To spread his glory, to spread his fame, to spread his goodness throughout the earth. To do it with how we operate with one another, to do it how we talk to one another. This is the goal. And when we do that, discipleship happens. That's where growth occurs. When we serve together towards the mission of God, that's where true friendship is built. Listen, if you just show and you're just an attender, like you'll grow a little bit because you'll learn some stuff, but it's not true transformation, that's information. True transformation occurs not just through what we know, but by what we do. Right? What I've seen so often is that people's theology will begin to change because their behavior has begun to change. And so they need to build a theology that supports their new behavior. And so when our behavior is serving alongside of one another, growing in faithfulness to God's mission, right, what happens is that we begin to change and we're made more of a disciple. We're discipling others and others are discipling us. This is true about every, listen, if you just take good companies, good teams, and you start thinking through what makes them successful, almost always what is at the root of it is commonality and mission. And so what builds good teams is commonality and mission. When you have a team, right, when you have a team that is just everybody, three people want to go that way, another person wants to do this, another person wants to do that, and there's no unity in the mission, the team is destined to fail. When you have a company that is attempting to try to do too many different things and doesn't keep the main thing, and everybody's doing different things, right? The mission is not holding people together, the company is destined to fail. When you have a church where we are not serving together, serving alongside of each other, together towards the mission of God, making disciples, playing our part, church is destined to fail. And the church is called to make disciples, and we do that by locking arms together. So let me ask you, where are you being intentional about serving alongside those who are part of your church? Where are you being intentional about serving alongside those who are a part of your church? Now, if you could answer that question, then I'm confident that you're building good, healthy friendships because your friends should be here. And if you can't, I'm nervous. I'll close with this idea. I want to talk specifically to singles, which should make you happy or nervous. I want to talk specifically to singles because so often you're like, oh, this church is all about the married people. Listen, I'm married. We got a bunch of married people. We got some singles too. I get it. But let me talk specifically to the singles for a second. Will you stop being so consumed with finding a spouse and be content with finding a best friend? If you want a healthy relationship, find a best friend. There's nothing better than being married to your best friend. Some of us ladies, I gotta be honest with some of the ladies, your standards are just outrageous. Dudes too. But some of you, your standards are just outrageous. Listen, if you see growth and friendship in that man, then give him a shot. He might surprise you. Because eventually beauty fades. Men, same thing. Stop treating women, single men, stop treating women as if they're a piece of meat and begin to build healthy, godly friendship where you're vulnerable with each other, where you're intentional, where the relationship is fruitful, you're discipling each other. Build healthy friendship. And let everything flow from that. What makes my marriage great is I'm married to my best friend. Yes, is she my partner in ministry? Absolutely. Does it sometimes feel like we're co-workers? Yes, it does. Are there moments where it's like, I feel like our job is to just get through the day and survive these 4 children? Yeah. But more than any of that, that's my best friend. I tell her all the time, I would love to fight with you more than hang out with others. That's a big statement. It's my best friend. So singles, fight to find a best friend. That's what will sustain in the end. And that's what this woman says about Solomon. She says, his mouth is most sweet. He is altogether desirable. This is my beloved, and this is